Alright, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. We just got done talking to Monsieur Kazuma Sogi here. So now we got other places we gotta go and visit. Yeah, you know what, let's go say hi to Mr. Vigil. See how he's doing after he collapsed. This is the ward where Mr. Vigil was brought, apparently. To be frank, I'm a little worried about seeing him again. Ah, the lawyer. Hello again. Are you feeling better now, Mr. Vigil? Yes, thank you. Somewhat better. I'm so sorry to have caused you to... it was because of me. If I hadn't exposed your secret and forced you to remember things you'd obviously tried to forget. The prosecutor was here until a few moments ago too. We just missed him. Oh! Kazuma beat us to it. He said much the same as you. He was very apologetic. But the truth is, I brought all this upon myself. Please, don't think like that. Keeping it from Evie, my wife, all these years. I've carried such a sense of guilt, but that's not the worst of it. Over time, I obviously came to deceive myself as well. You mean about your dismissal? Looking back now, I'm beginning to think that perhaps Inspector Gregson didn't stumble across me by accident at all. He compensated me so generously for acting as a stand-in. He was clearly concerned for my well-being and doing what he could to help. So perhaps Gregson knew exactly what had become of Mr. Vigil all along then. I'm sure this is just dessert for 10 years of lies and deception, but... It wasn't me that helped the professor escape 10 years ago! It wasn't me! I swear it! I swear it's true! Oh, Mr. Vigil. I'm sure you'd rather not dredge up even more from your past at this time, but... if possible, could you tell us exactly what really happened? I want to. I need to get all of this off my chest. I just want someone to tell me what I should have done. Here is my armband. My head. It's throbbing. Oh no, it's too soon, Mr. Naruhodo. It's too much for him. Too much for me seeing him swim like that. Maybe I should lay off the evidence for a while. Oh, okay. What about a picture of himself, though? That's certainly safe, right? Nope. He doesn't want to look at a picture of himself either. Inspector Gregson was obviously engaged in a special operation of some sort. He was investigating something that even Scotland Yard couldn't know about. Details of the Reaper's marks, yes. It was when he had to carry out those investigations that I would take his identification and impersonate him. He'd pretend to be the inspector and carry out investigations on his behalf. Oh no, never! A common street peddler couldn't possibly carry out a proper police investigation. All I would do is go to the specified location and make a little hoo-ha. Just something to leave an impression, so everyone there would think a detective called Gregson was here. So, that's what you were doing on the day prior to the incident? Yes. He asked me to make an appearance at the park on Lime Street for the Red-Headed League event. So as usual, I flashed the inspector's identification around and was very vocal about my presence. But then you were taken prisoner by those red-headed fraudsters. Yes. So, you would always make a point of showing Gregson's identification and generally being loud. That's what the inspector asked me to do, yes. But that's one way of becoming a legendary detective, I suppose. Not a good one, though. And as you know, I suffered this bruising around my neck at their hands. But the following day, they kept their word and released me. Without returning the inspector's identification to you, however. They had arranged to meet in the Fresno Street room at 5 that day so I could report back to the inspector. But at the agreed time, that's when I heard the gunshot. I see. Interesting. So, he was just back there waiting to report back, huh? So he's as in the dark as we are about the actual murder. It was at midnight on 17 June 10 years ago. There was the time scheduled for the execution. But the professor's execution never actually took place, did it? Or rather, the execution itself must have been used to effect the plan of escape. I hardly dare to imagine what a chilling plan it was. Barclay was renowned for being the highest security prison in the country. Everything that went in or out of the place was searched multiple times. But there was one notable exception. Or rather, one notable loophole. Something that was never questioned. I have a feeling I know what that loophole was now. The coffins into which the bodies of the executed convicts were placed, correct? Yes. Once the coroner had confirmed the death of a condemned convict, the body was taken in its coffin for immediate burial in Lowgate Cemetery just behind the prison. The chief warder first had to sign the necessary papers. And after that, no member of staff was permitted to touch the coffin containing the body again. When executions took place, only the executioner and the coroner were permitted inside the chamber. I would wait in the adjacent room for word that the condemned convict was dead. On that occasion, once I had the confirmation, I went into the mortuary to find a lone coffin as usual. The procedure was that I would sign the paperwork, having checked the coffin, then nail it shut. But for some reason that day, the coffin was already nailed shut. No! I didn't think anything of it at the time. I assumed that my deputy must have checked the coffin and nailed it shut before I arrived. So, you mean, the coffin contained... Yes, I can only imagine that Asogi, having escaped its execution somehow, was alive inside the coffin. The coffin was then taken out through the main gates and deposited in Lowgate Cemetery. Presumably there wouldn't have been enough air inside to breathe for long. So in the early hours following the burial, somebody dug up the coffin again to set Genshin free. But in the end, he was fatally shot in the graveyard anyway. What on earth really happened in Lowgate Cemetery that night, I wonder? I'm afraid I really don't know. All I can say with certainty are two things. Asogi couldn't possibly have escaped that way without help from somebody working in the prison. And that somebody was not me. If Scythe was working there at the time, I mean, she was the coroner at the time, right? She would have to be the one who signed off. No idea what's of his hand gestures. I think they are references to like paintings or something, or statues. They're very reminiscent of like certain classical art pieces. I'm not exactly sure though. I could look it up. I could look into it later. Or I guess if you want to, you could look it up yourself. Obviously, you knew the man then. The professor, I mean. Genshin Asogi. Yes, I remember him well, in fact. Would you mind telling us what you know? Well, having been condemned to death as he was, any contact I had with the man was short, obviously. After that trial, which was carried out behind closed doors, attended only by elite members of the judiciary, they called for his execution to be carried out at the earliest possible opportunity. The outcome of the trial was set from the beginning, wasn't it? It was a time of delicate diplomacy, when Britain and Japan were in the process of signing an important treaty. That meant that this potentially destabilizing case had to be dealt with swiftly and discreetly. The man had less than a week in total. As I was the chief warder, I oversaw his short stay in cells until his final hour. I remember being struck deeply by his noble character and incredible resilience. What do you mean exactly? He was a killer of many men, but he was always quiet and polite. He was a gentleman and a man of intellect. In fact, I couldn't bring myself to believe what he'd done, so I asked him one day. Those 5 members of the aristocracy whose lives were taken, were you really responsible? I'm guilty of the unforgivable crime of ending another human's life, yes. The following day, the closed trial took place, and the verdict was no surprise. Guilty. That night, when he was brought back to his cell, I saw something. Something unusual. Something unusual? What? The last will and testament of Genshin Asogi. As I said, it was on the night following his trial, after he'd been found guilty. I was doing the rounds of the cells, and when I looked into Asogi's, I noticed that he seemed to have a sheet of paper in his hand. Ah, his last will and testament then, presumably. As soon as he noticed me, he hurriedly shoved it behind his back. But why did you find it so unusual? Isn't it normal for a man to pen a will when he knows his death is nigh? Yes, that's true. But there were special conditions to Asogi's incarceration, you see. What sort of conditions? Well, even though he was held in a cell designated for condemned inmates, he was allowed to keep his personal effects with him, with one exception. Really? He was allowed his things. That is unusual, certainly. Of course, he'd been convicted of killing 5 members of the aristocracy. But at the same time, he was a guest in our country from the Empire of Japan. The powers that be were determined that his final days shouldn't be needlessly uncomfortable. And what was the exception you mentioned to the personal effects he was allowed? I mean, presumably the sword, right? That's the point. He wasn't... He wasn't permitted to have writing materials. Specifically, no pens or paper. So, he was prevented from leaving any written record of what had happened to him. Yes, that was the long and short of it. I have no idea where he obtained that paper. Also, they just left him with his sword. You are a convicted criminal, sir, but we'll let you keep this deadly weapon. Just don't go around killing any prison guards with it, okay? Okay. Honor system. Any writing materials would have been confiscated from him upon his incarceration. As I said, he hid the paper behind his back, and then he pleaded with me. But did you just hide behind your back? Please, please turn a blind eye. This is my lifeline. But, you know it's against the rules. You're the only person who's seen. If you just agree to keep quiet. Alright then, but what's on that paper? A last will and testament. This will is the only weapon I have left now. How can a will be a weapon? So I decided to pretend I'd seen nothing, and I let him keep his will. But then later, it just seemed to vanish without trace. What? Oh, what do you mean it vanished? It would seem that isn't the end of the story of this mysterious will. Interesting. I feel like that's gonna be like a play on words too. Asogi's will, right? Carrying on Asogi's will? thematically appropriate, if nothing else. I was the only person who saw Asogi's will, but somehow it disappeared. It was after Asogi's execution, which was actually an elaborate jailbreak. The warders gathered up Asogi's possessions that were in his cell. They were all to be sent back to his family home in Japan, you see. Poor Kazuma-sama. And you're saying that it wasn't anywhere to be found among his personal effects? The will, I mean. That's right, though I didn't search through them myself. But Government Kaiden was livid. He was screaming, "It can't have disappeared completely." That doesn't quite make sense though, does it? In what way? Well, we'd understood that only Mr. Vigil was aware of the will's existence. In which case, how did the prison governor know to look for it? Oh yes, you're right. I really don't know how he knew, but it certainly seemed as though he knew of the will's existence from the outset. Only he didn't refer to it as a will. What he said was, the Asogi Papers. The Asogi Papers. I really can't tell you anything of the subsequent events. Because, well, of what happened. The dismissal, and the way you blocked it all from your memory. I forgot it all this until today. I don't suppose it's relevant to the case though. Well, anyway, thank you very much for sharing it with us, Mr. Vigil. We're very grateful. I'm afraid that's really little more I can tell you. My wife Evie will be here shortly, so I do hope I don't appear rude, but... No, not at all. Thank you again. But what will become of you now? Well, impersonating a police officer is a criminal offense, of course. I imagine that once I'm fully recovered, I shall be arrested. I'm so sorry. Don't be, please. This is all my own doing. I always knew that this day would come. Well, I wish you well. Goodbye, Mr. Vigil. Ah! Before you go, there's just one thing. Oh, yes, or what is it? Micro VTuber, thank you for the follow. The Asogi Papers. I'd be very grateful if you could make no mention of the things I told you about them. Presumably for some good reason. It's my understanding that their very existence is a closely guarded secret. If it became known that I remembered, well, it could be rather troublesome, I think. I understand. He could become a target for assassination? Some sort of will that Genshin Asogi penned just before his death, which the man himself claimed was his last weapon. I wonder. Perhaps it has something to do with his plan to escape. If there's anyone who might know more about the document that Kazuma's father left behind, it will be Mr. Vigil's governor. If anyone found out Vigil would become the next Epstein, then we know precisely where we must go. Back to Barclay Prison. It does seem that... Okay. I guess a few things to point out. One at a time. So they are telegraphing this, but... I mean, this also could just be my meta-knowledge of Ace Attorney. If they wanted to do a big twist, it would probably be that Genshin Asogi was not responsible for the deaths. Because that would be too obvious, right? That would seem a little bit too obvious. Plus, he danced around the question. He didn't say he was guilty. He just said he was guilty of killing someone. He didn't say he was guilty of killing all the aristocracy people. So, what does that mean exactly? I wonder. Well, that's one. Two, the will, whatever that is, I'm guessing it has to do... Yeah, it's the Ace Attorney trope. I'm guessing it has to do with Karuma. Because, Kazuma keeps referring to it as his will, you know, right? Carry on his will, something something. I wonder if there's, like, something engraved on the sword. That is the Yasugi papers. Maybe the Yasugi papers were hidden inside the scabbard or something. I don't know. But, you know, that's where's my brain is going. If it were up to me, I'd go back to Asogi and ask him to look at his sword. Or something. I don't know. And thirdly, the governor. He knows about the papers somehow? That seems sus. I wonder how sus he is. Maybe he's involved in the prison escape. Maybe he too is part of the conspiracy. You'll cut what I just said. Okay. Oh. Chad, I thought of a possibility. So, like... So here's an idea. Here's an idea, chat. I'm thinking about it. What if, like, whoever was the previous Attorney General was actually the person responsible for the professor killings? Like, I don't know, like Strongheart's mentor or something, or like, you know, someone above Strongheart. So he was responsible for killing all of them. And somehow Genshin got involved and killed the actual professor. But because the conspiracy goes all the way up to justice, through the judiciary, like the English judiciary was responsible for it, you know, and like Strongheart's the latest person involved in that big conspiracy, whatever. So Genshin killed the real professor, right? So that's what he's talking about. He's responsible. He has blood on his hands. He killed the real professor. He was involved he got involved in it somehow, and then Strongheart, in order to further the conspiracy and keep it a secret, you know, he's taking over the prosecution. But since like the conspiracy killed Clint, Baroque asked him and he just let him handle it and stuff. But like Strongheart was going to be involved to begin with as the prosecutor, which makes me think that it was going to be like Kangaroo Court, you know, right? So Genshin is a scapegoat, you know, right? Like Genshin is the scapegoat. He's not the real professor. He killed the real professor, and the real professor is somebody in the judiciary that's now dead that we don't know about, but is related to male Strongheart in some way. We haven't met them yet. I think that's a plausible way this could go, right? Because that would also tie into Strongheart's entire MO of being very harsh on criminal stuff, you know, because maybe he's part of the same conspiracy. Maybe his old mentor was the professor who engaged in extrajudicial criminal killings, and so he's carrying on that will by implementing the Reaper plan. That kind of makes sense to me, right? And that would pose Strongheart into being like, you know, the final boss of this game and stuff. I think that would make narrative sense. I could be off though, chat, but you know. Obviously, don't tell me how close I am or how far away I am. I'm just thinking out loud. And you know, I figure me theorizing out loud is entertaining for you guys, since you already know. But yeah, that's where my thoughts are going. Alright, let's go talk to... Oh wow, she's redecorated real quick. This place really is creepy, isn't it? Well, being a dead room, it's probably full of the spirits of the dissected. But actually, there's a rather pleasing scent of roses in the air. Well, being a dead room, The coroner probably needs a boat scent like that to mask the odor of death. Iris, do you think we could change the subject? What was that? Dr. Gory?
What?
That noise before.
I was sharpening my tools. I'd be dead meat if I didn't keep a perfectly clean edge on them.
Right. Wait, her voice should be higher, right?
By following the collagen fibers in the dermis, an expertly sharpened scalpel cuts like cheese. Would you like a demonstration?
Oh, yes please, I'd love to see.
Hey, I think you do nicely.
Huh? No, I wouldn't do nicely at all. I mean, maybe some other time. Was that a tut? Well, we came here to ask questions, so... I'm covering my mouth to make her voice. It's also messing with my tracking, chat. I don't know how this sounds on the stream. Whether it sounds really bad or it sounds convincing enough. Okay. Let us talk. But first, please take a look at this. She's got nothing to say about the armband. No, in jail. Why should I help you? Oh, she doesn't want to talk. Dr. Gory, we actually came here to ask you about this.
He was very good.
Good? Sorry?
His skin didn't snap my blade once, and very little mess. His joints dislocated easily, and his muscle tissue was a pleasure to work with.
But we can skip those details. But there is one thing about the report that's caught my attention. You don't seem to have recorded a time of death. That's not my fault. Oh, that made me jump. And please, tell us what happened. Oh, I was supposed to talk to her first. Okay, I guess I ended up presenting it. So, why doesn't this autopsy report include the victim's time of death then? It's really the most crucial detail.
I was told not to write it.
What? By whom?
They are Strongheart, the Lord Chief Justice. He came here.
Lord Strongheart came.
He said that from the witness statements about the gunshot and other evidence, it was obvious. The man clearly died at 5 PM on 1st November, when the gunshot was heard.
But that's not the time of death you wrote in the report. You didn't write anything. Was there some reason you didn't include it? Dr. Gory, if you're hiding something under Lord Strongheart's instructions, then sooner or later, you're going to go to the same way as your mother. Give it here, then. What's she scribbling so furiously? There. You've written... What? What's she written? Tell us! Indeterminate. But... An accurate estimation of the time of death is not possible. Huh. But also interesting. Strongheart's coming in here and demanding evidence be covered up. Why? That's extremely sus. He's already dodged one accusation by saying that Dr. Scythe worked alone and all that stuff. You know, he's implying that Dr. Scythe worked alone, but clearly the orders came from the top. If he's made a habit out of it. What do you mean by that? Why was the time of death indeterminate? When the specimen was brought in, it was still fresh. So the time of death could easily have coincided with when the gunshot was heard.
But there was one small discrepancy.
What discrepancy?
There was some fried fish in the pocket of the specimen's overcoat. And that fish had started to rot.
What?
If the victim liked fried fish, she presumably liked to eat it before it went off.
Well, yes. What are you really trying to say?
It's possible that somebody tried to manipulate the apparent time of death.
Manipulate the... Is that even possible to do?
Theoretically, if you were to chill the body in ice, you could delay the onset of putrefaction. And if the overcoat wasn't on the body at the time,
Then only the fish would have started to rot.
with today's science, it's not yet possible to determine if the body was chilled or not.
But today's science is advanced enough to let you freeze a corpse, it seems. But surely, to chill a corpse like that would require an enormous electrical refrigerator. And I don't imagine many households in London are equipped with such a device. No, definitely not. But maybe in a factory, or some other special places. I don't recall seeing any factories or such like on Fresno Street, though. I wonder if the inspector's body had been chilled somehow. What might the actual time of death have been?
I couldn't say for sure.
But at the most, it might have been a day earlier. No! In other words, it would corroborate your previous deduction, Mr. Naruhodo. That Inspector Gregson was killed a day before his body was discovered, at a different location. Did you inform Lord Strongheart of this possibility? He simply said that there were no electrical refrigerators of that size in the vicinity.
If you don't mind, then.
Sorry? Back to work she goes. She's gone back to sharpening her blades. Not now, or my baby here might start to rust. I think perhaps we'd better leave Dr. Gory alone. Maybe we could try again later if we manage to find some more clues. Okay. Well... Spooky, scary skeletons. Then again, let's not. Please don't wash his arm. Oh, we can't click anything. Alright. Time to go. Ah, back again, are you? Yes. Hello. I've heard all about your investigations. I read the report just now. You found him, eh? Vigil. Yes, luckily. Well, anywho. The laddie doesn't work here no more, so your case is not to do with Barclay. I wouldn't they like you to get the wrong idea about that. Of course, yes. Mr. Vigil stopped working here 10 years ago now, so... Yes, we've seen his dismissal notice, haven't we? He was given the chop. I can. You can very well. So, how about a wee handcuff biscuit? Oh, they really are like little handcuffs. And as hard as irons, too. So, what's brought you down here today? Well, there's something else we'd like to ask you about, actually. Is that so? We believe there might have been a document that disappeared from Gichin Asogi's cell. I think it's been called the Asogi Papers or something. Did I not say? Gregson's death is not to do with things that might have happened at Barclay. Leave the past in the past, laddie. Let's not filter about with irrelevant details. His expression changed completely. We're clearly onto something here. he started to comb his hair like Gao. Which, by the way, I just realized that was the reference. He literally combs his hair like Gao. This is a Capcom game after all. The murderous botched execution, and the whole miserable escape. The Barclay's darkest hour, aye. A shocking embarrassment. Because the convict had to collaborate on the prison staff, you mean? Aye, for shame. The coroner confirmed the death of the man after his execution, Courtney Syfe. My chief warder at the time, Vigil, who was in charge of the whole affair. But Mr. Vigil says he didn't know anything about it. The rascal wouldn't dare say otherwise, eh? More handcuffs? Oh, how can I say no? You can never have too much iron in your diet. When Mr. Vigil was handed his dismissal notice as a result of what happened, he was so despairing he jumped out of the office window, didn't he? I didn't like to say, but that's just Vigil trying to get out of it. You know, thank you when I jumped from the shock of his crimes being exposed, eh? I do. You wouldn't say otherwise, though, would you? Of course, I can't shun all responsibility myself. I shouldn't have let him deceive me. Actually, there's barely anybody that kens what went on at the time now. The Gregson having been murdered and Dr. Syfe forbidden from having any visitors. No visitors? Someone obviously doesn't want her giving anything away. Well, we're not going home empty-handed. And I wouldn't dream of sending you packing with naught, Kimmer. Here, take a handcuff or two. Oh, well, it would be rude to say no. Wouldn't want to become an emic. I suppose there's anybody who might still can about what happened back then. It'd be the last one of the forensic division, Maria Gori. Maria Gori? Aye, Sy's daughter. She didn't have no more, just the one. But the wee baron's fallen in mom's footsteps. You didn't have a say with her scalpel in her hand. Ah!
Oh, what is this?
Ah! Where did she spring from? And did she just call the doctor Mama? Dr. Syfe's daughter, Maria Gori. We could do with talking to her. Well, we did. Just have to go back and talk to her again. Guess he's supposed to go in order. So, she's Dr. Syfe's daughter, but her same name is Gori. Aye, there's a family history, I'm sure, but I didn't care the ins and outs of it. She grew up watching a man work with the bodies of folk who died in strange circumstances, and decided to do the same with her own life. I can't understand it myself. Perhaps she was driven by a deep respect for her mother. Perhaps. Anywho, she was in charge of Gregson's autopsy, I believe. Right, and the coroner responsible for this incomplete report. Someone told me once that we lassie always loved the mom's stories about cutting up bodies. There's even a rumor that she used to listen to the funeral march as a lullaby. Well then, perhaps her mother might have told her about the autopsy from the case 10 years ago. Aye, I'd say there's a fighting chance at least. After all, it was a life-changing case for all of us. We really need to speak to Miss Gori herself about this, I think. Well, thank you very much. I'm not happy about any part of this. It took years for Londoners to finally forget the whole professor business. Can you not give up on this, laddie? Stop asking pointless questions. I'm sorry. I don't like dredging up these painful memories for everyone. Can you not just stay away now? Leave me alone and then you come back here, eh? How'd you come to care about that, laddie? There's not many folk even here in the prison who'd heard all those papers. Ah, well, I can't tell him Mr. Vigil told me. I'm afraid our sources must remain confidential, sir. We've been led to believe the papers are actually a last will and testament. Is that right? The professor's, or rather, Genshin Asogi's. Aye, that's right. You were informed, Jimmy. Oh, is that the end of the silent treatment? But then after the convict's execution, it mysteriously vanished from his cell, didn't it? Havers, no! You're off at half-cocked there. I think you didn't get quite your facts straight. It was there in the cell, exactly where it should have been. Oh, now what we heard elsewhere. Let me just have a wee hook round in here. Sure I can find it. Aye, here you are. See? The last will and testament of Genshin Asogi, written with a calligraphy brush. Of course, I cannot read a word of those Japanese squiggles, but I mind it says he leaves all his worldly possessions to his son back in his homeland. Yes, that's correct. That's the gist of it. So these are the Asogi papers. Aye, of course they are. Papers written by Asogi, nae dupe to boot it. There's no mystery here, laddie. It's your lot. After all, the drama should its last start of execution. We sent the man's possessions back to his clan in Japan, and that was the end of it. I think we ought to make a record of this, Mr. Naruhodo, just in case. One thing before you go on your way, Mr. Naruhodo. Oh, yes? Those papers are not to do with Gregson's death. I prefer it if you didn't make no mention of them outside this office. Or rather, I wouldn't just prefer it, consider it an order from the highest levels of our government. I understand. It's in Japanese, so most of the English people can't read it. I am guessing that there is a cryptographic message in here somewhere. Well, this is translated, but there might be a cryptographic message in there. That's where my brain is going. Okay, he doesn't have anything to say about that anymore. Alright, guess we're done here. Alright, let's go talk to Maria again. Someone's sharpening again. You're still not dead? Anyway, I don't have anything more to tell you about that specimen. Actually, we're not here to ask you about Inspector Gregson. We were hoping to talk to you about your mother, Dr. Scythe. It's something the governor of Barclay Prison mentioned. He said that she was responsible for confirming the death of the professor after his execution. That's not all Mama did. Sorry. My mama carried out the autopsy of Clint Van Zeeks as well. What? Really? The brother of Lord Van Zeeks, the professor's final victim. The idea of carrying out an autopsy on a member of the aristocracy was completely unthinkable back then. But the detective in charge of the investigation insisted, and it was miraculously authorized. The detective being Inspector Gregson, of course. Quite an accomplishment for one man. That autopsy provided the vital clue needed to arrest the killer. And Mama was there for that historic event. What does all this mean? Why tamper... Okay, tampering with Genshin. Sure, makes sense. Tampering with Clint? We know Gregson is in on it. We know Scythe is in on it. What do they need to hide about Clint in particular, and not the other victims? Was Clinton on it? Wait. So maybe it wasn't just like some person that we don't know. What if the actual professor was Clint? That seems likely, yeah. Seems like... Oh, that makes even... Wait, that makes even more sense. If Clint was the real professor, and the so-called final victim of Genshin Asogi, the professor, was Clint Van Zieks. So Genshin did kill Clint, but Clint was actually the professor. He's just responsible for killing Clint. That makes a lot of sense. Hang on. That makes a lot of sense. And that also would make sense why Baroque isn't like he's not even considering that possibility. He still thinks dead set that Genshin is the professor because the alternative is unimaginable to him. That makes a lot of sense. Hang on. You know, that amazing autopsy happened right here in this very room. The professor and Clint Van Zieks. They both spent their final moments before their burial on the dissection table there. So this lab, Mama's lab, was instrumental in some of the country's most important events. She really is proud of her mother. I wonder if it tells more about exactly what happened back then, Dr. Gori. Well, even if that's true, there's still gonna be a lot of things to prove on the road there. I have a feeling this isn't gonna... Well, I mean, this is the final part of 2-4 anyway. We're not going back to court until 2-5. So, we're clearly gonna be dealing with these issues in 2-5. But, yeah. Definitely interesting. The professor's execution was Mama's first big case. She had to be in attendance at Barclay Prison in the execution chamber. And signed a certificate to confirm the convict's death. Mama is the best Kuroda in the world, you know. I was so proud of her. But the execution didn't actually take place. No. And worse still, Mama actually helped with the jailbreak.
I didn't want to know.
Oh dear. You found out recently, you mean?
I believed in her, and Mama, but... Now I wonder if I'm starting down the same path as her.
You mean, because you omitted the time of death on this autopsy report? But that's because Lord Strongheart forbade you from including it.
Just like Mama. I'm sure she was coerced by somebody too.
Yes, that's my feeling as well. It's no doubt that there were powerful forces at play 10 years ago. The execution couldn't have been staged without a lot of people at the prison knowing about it. Obviously, the prison governor must have been in on it as well. The big man with the little handcuffs? According to what he told us, he was tricked by the chief warder. He says he knew nothing about it. Of course he said that. I'd say the same thing. Just who was behind that jailbreak all those years ago? You mentioned the autopsy of Clint Van Zieks. It was at a time when carrying out autopsies of murder victims was very unusual. It's still not a practice that's observed in our country, even now. It turned out that he was the professor's final victim, and when the autopsy was performed, Mama was present, although only as a secondary assistant. The person leading the procedure was called Dr. John H. Wilson. That's right, my daddy! And there was one other person present, the primary assistant. He was a visiting student from the Far East. Wait, a visiting student? It must have been my father, Eugene Mikotoba. I had no idea Professor Mikotoba had been involved in something so important. Oh no, how deep does this go? Does that mean... okay. Wait, no. No. Wilson? Watson. John H. Wilson was killed in Japan by Giselle Brett. He was killed by the conspiracy. So he couldn't have been a part of it, right? And Mikotoba's still alive. Shouldn't he be a target as well then, if he was involved? Okay. These two were involved with Clint's autopsy. But one of them's dead. I don't know. Everyone is sus. Everyone is the Among Us. But the outcome of the historic autopsy was the discovery of a vital piece of evidence that led to the capture of the professor. So that's how they came to identify Genshin Asogi as the infamous mass murderer. Do you happen to know anything about that piece of evidence? Can you tell us any more?
Would you like to see the records for yourself?
Well, would that be alright?
What's the point of keeping records if people can't look at them? They fell out on the V at the back of those cupboards, but the other records in the last decade.
Thank you. Let's see. Van Zeeks. That's strange. What, Mr. Naruhodo? They aren't here. There's nothing under Van Zeeks.
There must be.
Perhaps somebody took them away. No one's allowed to take documents related to the professor case out of his room. But you're right. They're gone. Well, when was the last time somebody looked at them? Do you remember? It was... oh yes, I remember now. It was 2 years ago. A consulting detective came one day, saying that he'd like to see the records. No. You don't mean... Herlock Sholmes was his name. Deep down, I knew that was coming. Do you think he stole the records? Oh no, surely not. Iris, that can't be right, can it? Iris? He did, didn't he? Bruno. I hope you don't mind, but... What is it, Iris? I just remembered something very important I have to do. I'm going to have to leave you now. Oh, this is very sudden, Iris. Well, we'll come with you then. Oh no, there's no need. You and Bruno can take your time here. Bye for now then. Good luck. Wait a minute, little girl. Huh? Me? I remember now. You've been here before, haven't you? Have you, Iris? Yes, 2 years ago. When the detective came. You were with him, weren't you? You were a living specimen then too. That's the way it usually works, yes. Was I? I really don't remember. Anyway, sorry, but I must dash. Wait, Iris. I'll pour up a pot for you when you get home. What's the matter with her? She's behaving really strangely all of a sudden. Well, in that case, we won't keep you any longer either. It's been quite a while since I had any visitors. This was really fun. But next time you come, I prefer it if you were ready for dissection. I can't make any promises, sorry. It's a bit strange that the records of Clint Van Zeek's autopsy have disappeared. But I think we've asked all we came to ask now. And Holmes has something to answer for. But first... Oh, okay, no. We'll get the same dialogue. Okay, we gotta go here next. Alright. Everything's the same as always. Well, no, wait, no. The case is there. The police are still busily investigating in here then. But Gina's nowhere to be seen. Where is she? Yes, it has been blissfully quiet, hasn't it? Perhaps she's out investigating on her own, practicing what her boss taught her. Well, I expect she'll be back before too long. Shall we wait? Actually, there's something different about this room since the last time we were here, isn't there? We could always use the time to investigate more thoroughly. Do you guys say anything different? You don't. Okay. This little trunk wasn't here before, was it? Oh, it appears to be made of metal. It must be very heavy. I wonder to whom it belongs. There are some initials on the outside, look. TG. Let's ask one of the policemen if they know how it came to be here. Oi! What do you think you're doing? That's my trunk, that is. Hands off. Gina. Where were you hiding? I don't know, you leave something unattended for a few seconds, and every Tom, Dick, and Harry's got his greedy eyes on it. Just a wild guess, Gina, but... What? Spit it out, Otto. Is it fair to say that you've only owned that trunk since this morning's trial? What are you trying to say? Come on, this trunk goes with me everywhere. Always ask. Where you been the last year? Trying not to incur your wrath, mainly. The sure they am talking at the yard now. They should be ashamed of themselves. They're saying that it was the boss who killed all them bludgers. You mean the whole Reaper thing? Yeah. Apparently the boss was investigating stuff that no one else at the yard knew nothing about. Stuff to do with all them criminals what got off scot-free. Yes, the one prosecuted by Lord Van Zeeks, who used bribery and corruption to evade conviction. But then obviously, it was that bloomin' Reaper giving the orders, weren't it? But why would people be suspecting Inspector Gregson of being involved in the killings? There was a notebook in his office. Oh no, this doesn't sound good. It had details about all the crimes that have been pegged as the Reaper's work. What? No. Did you see it, Gina? Did you see that notebook? They wouldn't flamin' let me, because I'm just an apprentice, apparently. It was me who found it, and he was my boss. That's right. I was pretty miffed about it, so I sneaked a peek at what it said anyway. Oh, that's our Gina. So, you managed to see what was written in Gregson's secret notebook anyway, did you? Well, yeah, I see it. It's my right to read what he wrote. And what had he written, Gina? Dates, times, places, names, and a whole long list of them. All details about the bludger supposed to have been done in by the Reaper. But there could be an explanation for that. Perhaps it was a record of the Inspector's investigations into the Reaper's activities. Exactly. That's what I said. That's the first thing you'd think, right? As it happens, it was full of names I recognized anyway. Well, the Reaper's targets are almost exclusively known leaders in London's criminal underworld. Well, yeah, but there was one name right at the end that was a bit odd. At the end of the list, you mean? I'm pretty sure the date against it was 31st October. Oh, the day before the Inspector was found dead. So, what was the odd name? It wasn't like a name I ever seen before. It was something like, Nah, it's no good. I can't remember it. I don't think it was an English name, put it that way. Oh dear. What a pity. There was something else too. I don't know if it matters, but the same name kept coming up over and over. Shen, it was. Didn't suppose it means anything, but... Did you say Shin? Eh? What? What? It means something? Lord Van Zeeks knew the name too. He mentioned her as well. The woman who actually did the deeds. And now, you find her name appeared in Gregson's secret notebook. Yeah, we're definitely deep into it. We haven't seen you for a little while, have we, Gina? Oh, of course not. I've been busy, ain't I? Investigating in that. The lads of the yard are trying to trace the boss's movements the day before it happened. The day before? There would be the undercover investigation into the Red-Headed League then. Only the boss didn't go, did he? He found some cold water was pretending to be him, didn't ya, Otto? Yes, it was Mr. Vigil who actually went to the park on Lime Street that day, posing as Gregson. Well, anyway, you ain't the only one turning stuff up. I got me own ways of getting results. When me and my partner here get together, there's nothing we can't track down. Oh, little Toby, you're such a faithful friend. So, have you tracked anything down then? What do you think, eh? Of course we have. Can't tell you though. Police business, innit? Anyway, the point is, if you lot ever need any help, you know who to turn to, right? Me and the Elwow near. Right. Because he looks oh so hellish, honest. Gina, about your hellhound there. Chief Inspector Toby, you mean? He's a bride of the force, he is. In Japanese, police dog means something quite different, and not altogether nice to those involved in crime. But here in Britain, it's a wonderful compliment, it seems. For a canine, at least. It should be. After all, in the Great Exhibition case the other day, it was Toby who managed to locate Drebber's workshop. Maybe it's time for another demonstration of what the super dog can do, eh? We have something the Chief Inspector could catch the scent of, I wonder. Weg!
Take that!
Well, Chief Inspector Toby, if you wouldn't mind having a sniff of this. He might be a little too keen, don't you think? The Chief Inspector made short work of Gina there. Ah, but look where he's gone to. Oh my, the trunk lady still has a very strong scent. Of Inspector Gregson. In other words, it must have belonged to him. Oh, alright. It's a fair cop, I suppose. And he nearly got away with it, too. You always talk so proudly of Chief Inspector Toby's nose and what it can achieve. Did it not cross your mind that he might identify something that was right next to us? Yeah, that was a bit of a bloomer, weren't it? That's enough now then, Gina. Eh? I think it's time you told us the truth about that trunk. It wasn't like that. It just weren't. What are you talking about? I know what's going through that head of yours, but that ain't what happened. Alright then. What did happen? Well, like I said before, we were trying to trace the boss's movements. So I let Toby here to whiff at the boss's overcoat. And as soon as I done that, he ran off like a shot. Straight to that sandwich. To a sandwich? Not to a bag of chips? Listen, Naruto though. I believe Gina means the witness. Oh, Beppo. Oh, I forgot about that sandwich. Yeah, he added it in between them wooden boards of his. The boss's trunk. Oh, he stole it? You mean, when they heard the sound like a gunshot and all powdered in here? Exactly! He nabbed it from the scene. Goodness. Me and the Chief Inspector gave that sandwich a good grilling, and you know what he said? I thought I'm a fetch a good price, and the chap wouldn't be needing it anymore, so... But that's all I did. Nothing more, nothing less. But you Adam and Eve the cheek of it, eh? Still in the dead boss's stuff to flog. So Miss Venus wasn't the only one to meddle with the scene of this crime, then. How could they? So anyway, that's how it happened. And it's pretty decent trunk, so I figured I might as well make use of it. Is there something wrong with that, eh? Well, maybe you and Mr. Sandwich should try to find the answer to that question together. I think perhaps that trunk should be turned over to the police, don't you? What are you on about? I am the police! Gina, if you wouldn't mind, could we maybe examine it? Yeah, alright then. Do what you want with it. Thank you. We shall make a detailed record of our examination of the evidence. What's the matter with Toby? Why is he acting so aggressively towards me all of a sudden? Mr. Naruhodo, be careful! It must be the trunk! Ah! Dog in our face! 3D dog in our face! Toby! Oi! What are you doing? You're gonna lick his face off! The danger music. Mr. Naruhodo! Naruhodo-san! Gina, quickly! Hail a carriage! Death by Toby. Oh, my head. Oh, Mr. Naruhodo, are you alright? Mr. Sato. Ah, conscious again at last. A blessed relief, my dear fellow. After all, to drop dead after a moderate licking by a small terrier. Most unseemly. But it is or isn't seemly is irrelevant here, Mr. Sholmes. I'm so glad there's no lasting damage. How are you feeling? I'm fine, thank you. Did you bring me back here? Ah, what's this on my head? A bandage? Sadly, we had no ice. So that's a compress of sugar water. Sugar water? Don't worry, Mr. Naruhodo. It's a first aid treatment that my father taught me. Oh, thank you. So, let us take tea when you're feeling up to it. But of course, no sugar in the patient's cup. The bump on my head is throbbing sweetly enough, don't worry. Whenever you feel ready, then. Alright, before that, though. Got lots of investigating to do. So number 1, bloodstain. Look at this dark stain here. Do you think... Yes, I'm afraid so. I think it's blood. I knew you were going to say that. So that presumably means... This was present at the scene where Inspector Gregson was killed. It's the most logical conclusion, yes. Good thing Gina's been carrying this around with her. If you didn't know any better, I suppose it does look like a grease stain from all the fish and chips. Have you seen this huge gash across the side of the trunk here? It's gone right through the leather and into the metal behind. Gosh, for a metal chest like this to have been so badly damaged. Whatever made the gash must have struck the side of the trunk with considerable force. I wonder how it happened. Let's have a look inside. Look, there's something inside. Ooh, let's see. It appears to be a passport, authorizing him to travel overseas. Was Inspector Gregson about to go on a trip abroad then? Perhaps the date of departure might tell us something. That was... Oh, what is it? It was to travel on 31st October, just one day before the incident. What? Really? Traveled to France the day before his body was discovered. Yeah, so that lines up. He was trying to flee the country, I guess. Gregson went to France the day before his body was discovered, or was about to go to France, I guess. It looks like something stuck on the... You see that? There's something stuck in the side of the trunk there. It's glinting. It looks like a fragment of metal of some sort. But it's wedged in so tightly I can't remove it. But don't cut yourself. You better leave it, I think. Anything else on the top there? Nothing in the lining? Personally, I would suspect something in the lining. Okay, I think that's everything. Mr. Sholmes, did you take the papers? Thank you for your concern, Mr. Sholmes. My dear fellow, think nothing of it. I must say I was quite startled when I heard that you've been attacked by a dog. For a moment, I feared that infamous murderer of so many had come back from the dead. You mean, the Professor? Fortunately, I see your prized throat is unscathed. That stiff, turned-up collar of yours obviously afforded some welcome protection. Was I that close to death? All I really remember is the dog licking my face over and over and over again. Well, if you wish to avoid such troubles in future, a little mustard spread on the cheeks should do the trick. I should think that would balance the sweetness of your bandage rather splendidly. Alright. Let's go talk to Holmes, asking him about the Van Zeek's papers that he presumably took.
Mit dem Schwarzbiergebot brodelt wie ein Feuerberg, den Schlund es mir verbrannt, ach Hopfen deine Wut. Herr mit dem Knacker ich befahl, hat wie ein Diamant den Zahn entzwei, es brach, o über deine Wut. Herr dem seid holdlich gelobt, und auf den ersten Streich alle Seiten des Teris weh oder an die Wut. Herr mit dem Schwarzbiergebot, brodelnd wie ein Feuerberg, den Schlund es mir verbrannt, ach Hopfen deine Wut. Herr mit dem Knacker ich befahl, hat wie ein Diamant den Zahn entzwei, es brach, o über deine Wut. Herr dem seid hold.
What on earth is going on in here? Am I having a bad dream?
Auf den ersten Streich
Ah, no. It's an old German folk song. Rather a fine rendition, I think. That's the least of my concerns. Iris? Iris, what's the matter? Okay, hang on. I know who that is back there on the couch. Yep, that's the mustache. And the hat. And the suit. What the hell happened to Mikotoba-san? Why is he here? Why is he passed it on the... Hang on a second! Wait! Wait. Watson isn't Watson. Watson isn't Watson. So who is the real Watson? The real Watson.
Feuerberg, den
Bowler hat, toothbrush mustache.
Herbrannt, ach Hopfen deine Wut.
I can't believe Victor was masked and mask all along. ain't no way this ain't no way. This was staring me in the face since the first case. And I didn't put this together until now, because he's not been in English clothes until now. This man is Watson. This man has Watson's character design. We just never noticed because he wasn't in English clothes until now. I don't know why I suddenly made the connection, but maybe it's the fact that he is here sprawled out in Holmes' apartment that I suddenly realized, wait a minute. This feels like a Watson shenanigan. Oh shit, wait. Holy shit. I mean, I might be jumping to conclusions here, but come on, that character design cannot be a coincidence. Who is that sprawling, that relaxed gentleman over there? Iris? Is she even listening? Excuse me, sir. I do apologize for troubling you whilst you're singing so merrily, but would you be kind enough to explain the situation? This is extremely weird with this German song playing in the background. Well, that worked. A crooning gentleman and a mute young girl. A rather tantalizing juxtaposition. And one that appears to have incited the gods of deduction within me to find their voices too. Oh, Mr. Sholmes, do you mean... The strains of reasoning within me are playing now as a delightful duet. One melody sings of a reunion full of nostalgia, whilst the other is a morose theme about the great secret you're trying so desperately to conceal. Iris? She's turned as white as a sheet. Did she feed him bad tea or something? He's holding the teacup and he's passed out. So as usual, you've instantly seen to the very heart of the matter. And by the time my own brief performance is over, I feel sure this gentleman's song will reach its finale. So then, to Musicland, where all is sweetness and delicacy and harmony. Pray, do enjoy Herlock Sholmes' latest logic and reasoning spectacular. And then Mikotoba in the back there is just like... Well, I don't know if I missed this part of it. Firstly, we consider the gentleman's nationality. Clearly, he's a German with no grasp of the English language. As evidenced by the Germanic song he sings and his apparent inability to understand when asked to desist. So, why is the man here at all and in such an apparently high spirits? The answer, of course, Iris, is clearly known to you. Indeed, we need only follow the gaze of those bright young eyes to unravel that particular part of this mystery. The reason for the man's mildly irritating warbling is revealed by the herbal tea. You obviously offered our German guests a cup of your latest herbal blend. The tea's delectable flavor has made the man's spirit soar, and resulted in this joyful ditty tumbling incessantly from his lips. I eagerly await the sampling the flavor myself, that I may join the fellow in this state of elation. Now to the next question. Who exactly is this gentleman availing himself so thoroughly of the settee? Does Iris have something in her mouth? Is that why she's not talking? As it happens, a number of years ago now, a certain gentleman of German origin engaged my services in solving a particularly delicate case. He required the retrieval of letters once sent to an acquaintance that might have proved problematic. Oh, Charles Augustus Milverton reference! In order to conceal his noble identity, he also arrived at my office in a mask. A Scandal in Bohemia reference! Wait, no, yeah, it's not Milverton. This one is A Scandal in Bohemia. The gentleman's name was Wilhelm Gottschalk Sigismund von Ormstein. Yes, that one witness's name, the King of Germany, that one witness's name in the previous trial, That is also a reference to a scandal in Bohemia. Although it was Bohemia, not Germany. If my memory serves, the mask worn by the gentleman is identical. Yes, there can be no question. The mask belongs to the King of Germany. It would appear that His Majesty remembers the fine service I afforded him, and has decided to show his face again, mask and all, in order to express his gratitude. A well-mannered monarch indeed. Wouldn't you agree, my dear fellow? Iris definitely has something in her mouth. So the identity of this masked visitor is in fact my former client, the King of Germany. Indeed, his son is currently in London as well, enjoying the wonders of the Great Exhibition. You mean the King of Bohemia? Which leaves us with one remaining imponderable. Yes, you, young Iris. But your apparently inexplicable silence is unable to hide the truth. Yes, the reason for your muteness is concealed inside that knapsack. A £5 note, I believe. I must say, as your compatriot, I'm deeply saddened. It would appear that you've allowed yourself to be bribed into silence by His Royal Highness. Oh, they deserve some spending money in exchange for keeping quiet about the King's secret. And now, the final piece of the puzzle. What is this secret you strive to hide with your silence, Iris? Ah, yes, we need only follow that brief involuntary twitch of your eyes to find the answer. You were attempting to abscond with that coffee cup. My favorite coffee cup, in fact. Or should I say, the handle of my favorite coffee cup. It appears that His High-Spirited Highness broke it in the midst of his high jinks. Which leads us to the sad truth. My favorite coffee cup has been broken by the King of Germany, and Iris, you tried to conceal it from me! I shall have a bill sent via governmental channels to the German royal family for its replacement. Thus concludes Herlock Sholmes' great deduction of this painful puzzle.
Mit dem Schwarzbiergebot, Boden, Wien, Feuerberg, den
With your silence as well, the fellow's jovial warbling rather rings in the ears, does it not? Mr. Sholmes, I must say something does rather trouble me. Pray, Mrs. Sato, do tell. His Royal Highness doesn't appear to have moved a muscle since we arrived. Ah. And you haven't said a word either, Iris. If Mr. Sholmes has it all right, you might as well own up to it now. Your reasoning isn't entirely without substance, I must admit. And one other thing, Mr. Sholmes. Yet another grievance, Mr. Naruhodo. Surely not. Well, I actually read the story of the case recently, the one you were just describing. And according to that at least, it wasn't the King of Germany, it was the King of Bohemia. Ay. Goodness, was it? Yes, that's quite true. Master Gotz, the prince, testified to that in court. In his words, I have come to see the great exhibition all the way from my home in Bohemia. I would ask you to keep that minor error to yourselves. It could easily become quite a scandal. Chat! You said it! You said it! You said the thing! A scandal in Bohemia!
Alle Seiten des Teris Ode an die Wut.
The effect isn't as good because I don't have outro music, but I believe, Mr. Naruhodo, that it's our turn now to make some corrections to a number of minor errors that may have slipped in. Yes, even Mr. Sholmes is willing to admit he might be slightly wide off the mark this time. Although it's clear that Iris is definitely hiding something. We need to find out the truth behind the mysterious scene. But one truth is incontrovertible. My favorite coffee cup is no more. So, shall we embark again? On a joint presentation of Herlock Sholmes' Logic and Reasoning Spectacular? Man's identity. No, he is not German, he is Japanese. Alright, let's see. Let's take his mask off, you'll know who it is. Oh, it's under the blanket. The radio is under the blanket, obviously. So what? It's some mix of herbs that gives you the urge to sing. Goodness, I should like to try some. And I'd like to hear your singing, but this man... Just how long does he intend to keep up with that tune, do you suppose? As I said, he's been stock still the entire time, and if you look closely, his lips aren't moving either. So I'm not sure what's actually responsible for the spirited singing, but I suspect the answer lies at the end of Iris's gaze. Oh, it's just a phonograph. Okay. Wait, this... It's a gramophone, still rarely seen in our own country. The sound clearly appears to be coming from the horn. A machine singing! That can't be right! Hatsune Miku! Science and technology are changing the world rapidly, Mr. Naruhodo. What's right is changing too. It's too much for my brain. Well, at least we found our answer. Hatsune Miku! The reason for this man's mildly irritating warbling is revealed by Hatsune Miku!
Take that!
The reason for the man's mildly irritating warbling is revealed by the gramophone. Indeed, for no well-bred gentleman to break into an obscure folk song when making a social call. In other words, this gentleman isn't singing at all. In fact, it would appear that the fellow is unconscious. Ah, the music seems to have stopped now. I ask you, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes? Why would I have purchased a recording of that gibberish? How should I know? Well, never mind. On with the deduction. Who exactly is this gentleman availing himself? Although we've already established that it was actually the King of Bohemia, it seems Mr. Sholmes intends to persist with his Germany theory for some reason. Come to think of it, the young prince was wearing a mask as well, wasn't he? Master Gotts, the boy whom you had in tears. Don't remind me. Or anyone else. Do you suppose all members of the aristocracy of mainland Europe wear masks? I'm sure they do. Well, probably anyway. The point is, that mask doesn't belong to any king. No, that's right. As we well know. Because we can identify the true owner of this mask.
Take that!
Yes, there can be no question. That mask belongs to Kazuma Asogi. In other words, my memory is sublimely unreliable. Only you could try to make that sound positive. No one else is here to listen to me, so that's fine. Kazuma's mask had been languishing on his mental chest for several days, but it doesn't explain why the gentleman is wearing it now. But it is now a simple matter to determine our guest's true identity. After all, the gentleman is unconscious. We need only excuse ourselves in advance, gently lift the mask and peer beneath it. I don't believe it. Ah! Father? I'm afraid, Miss Susato, you must be mistaken. No, I think not, Mr. Sholmes. Then it would appear our logic and reasoning has once again revealed the truth. This mysterious visitor is my unconscious father, Yujin Mikotoba. Logic and reasoning, or just looking and saying. Which leaves us with one remaining imponderable. Rinosuke's face, yeah. What shenanigans have we gotten up to this time? But you know what? It's nice to have a little bit of shenanigans. But this case has been pretty heavy. I don't mind that this is a little bit of a break that we're getting out of it before we plunge back in. So that's a £5 note poking out from Iris' knapsack, is it? Oh dear, I can't be sure. Most money that we encounter is in coin form. I know. I'm not even sure if we've seen any banknotes here in Britain at all, have we? But anyway, Father would never have paid money for Iris' silence. He certainly seems like the silent type himself, though, judging by his present state. There must be some other reason for Iris' silence, I suppose. Perhaps what Iris is trying so hard not to give away of her eyes is something entirely different. The Persian slipper. The Persian slipper. This slipper features in The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, doesn't it? It does. When I first saw it there on the mantelpiece, I very nearly fainted of excitement. Doesn't Iris keep her relevances in there? Yes, that part was never mentioned in these stories. We could swap it for the Japanese equivalent of a slipper for fun. In other words, for a wooden getter sandal. But then it wouldn't be possible to hide anything inside. Which matters because... Okay, yeah. Nice little dialogue. This metal chest, it contains important documents, doesn't it? Yes, details of all the cases Mr. Sholmes had worked on over the years. Written up by Iris' father, if I'm remembering correctly. Iris insists the chest is kept locked at all times. She's never once showed me inside. Well, its contents are invaluable to her, I suppose. And entirely irreplaceable. But look at it now. The catch is unlocked for once. Ah, so it is. It's hard to ignore. Very. I've never seen the chest unlocked before in all the time we've been staying here at Baker Street.
Take that!
Do you look inside? I mean, wait, no, that's her chest, right? Yes, the reason for your muteness is concealed inside that metal chest. An excellent observation, for upon closer inspection, there is something different about the chest's appearance. It's kept locked at all times, yet now, the catch is open. Evidently, this has something to do with your refusal to speak, Iris. But it's a simple enough matter to incite you to speak, I'm sure. I merely need to open this chest. Here we go. No! Harley, don't! Mr. Sholmes! No, Harley! He's dead. Well, that's the end of the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Unfortunately, chat, the miracle never happened. Oh well, a bit of an abrupt end, and honestly, that was a little bit of a disappointing ending. But that's that, I guess. Sholmes was dead, and we never found out about the papers that he took. So yeah, thank you for joining me on the Great Ace Attorney, and I'll see you guys on the next game that I play. Never! Oh, Hurley, I told you not to open it. Ah, so you found your voice now, Iris. Ah! In other words, what just happened clearly reveals the truth here. Oh, she didn't have anything in her mouth. I thought she was hiding something in her mouth. Yes, the real reason for your silence until now is... It is somewhat different to the usual dance of deduction you perform with Mr. Sholmes, isn't it? Well, he's left me alone on the ballroom floor, so I'm going to have to dance this next part solo. And anyway, I need to get to the bottom of this for my own peace of mind. Now then, Iris isn't usually the silent type, so... You mean you don't actually know the answer yet, despite that knowing point to the finger before? Mr. Sato, sometimes a man needs to point his finger first and think later. Yes, as Phoenix Wright clearly says. Oh, well, if you say so. I think we better examine Iris more closely and try to rescue the situation then. That's a key she's holding, look. I'm sure that wasn't in her hands before, was it? No, you're quite right. It's appeared as if by magic. That's strange. A big old iron key. Where did it materialize from?
Take that!
Oh wait, she was hiding that in her mouth. Okay, she was hiding something. Yes, the real reason for your silence until now is that key behind your back. Ah, when Mr. Sholmes was thrown into the air before. Just before you called out to try to stop him, you slipped something out of your mouth. That something is the key now in your hands. No doubt the key to the chest. You're so clever, Runo. So now it becomes clear. Thanks to Mr. Sholmes' graphic demonstration, we can well imagine what happened here. But Professor Mikotobo also opened that metal chest, only to be punched into the air and land sprawled on the settee. But wait, that doesn't explain all the facts. What about the stylish scarf and the cup of tea? And above all, why would he be wearing Kazuma-sama's mask? Well, for those curious details, I can think of only one explanation. Clearly an unbelievable miracle took place in this room. Isn't that right, Iris? Consider how the room was arranged before this whole painful experience took place. When Professor Mikotoba opened the chest, completely unaware of what awaited him inside, the mask was flung into the air just as he was, only to land neatly on his face when it fell back down. And the teacup's journey through the air ended when it caught on the unconscious professor's finger. You mean to say that the stylish scarf is actually just a tablecloth? This is the Great Detective's office, after all, a place of miraculous deductions. What is this Looney Tunes nonsense? Oh, alright. Would you expect anything less? Yes, you're right. It happened exactly as you said. This was some Looney Tunes bullshit. Brilliant, Runo. Thus concludes Ryunosuke Naruhodo's great deduction of this punchy puzzle. It's a pretty silly way to reveal that Mikotoba is involved with Sholmes, yes. Hello, old friend. Bonk. So then, why don't I make a fresh pot of tea for us all?
Objection!
Objection! Oh wait, has he ever made a voice objection before? An admirable performance, Mr. Naruhodo. But in the final act of the show there, you rather missed everything of importance. Mr. Sholmes, if you would cast your mind back to my earlier deduction. Iris, clearly you're hiding a great secret. She is, from the look on her face. Mr. Sholmes must be right. Whatever that great secret is, the cat isn't out the bag yet. So I put it to you again. You were attempting to abscond with that coffee cup. It really is a shame about Mr. Sholmes' cup. It must have been smashed when Professor Mikotoba opened the chest. Oh dear, so many things seem to have been broken here. But now that the deduction has taken a different direction, Iris doesn't seem to be trying to hide the broken cup anymore. In other words, her great secret is something else. Let's put our observational skills to work here one final time then. The key, right? Where's the key? Oh. Ah. She peeked. She peeked at something. Ah, look. There. There seems to be more papers there. Is Iris trying to hide them underneath the tray? The insignia, Mr. Naruhodo. It's an official Scotland Yard document. But why would Iris have... We must ask her. An official Scotland Yard document.
Take that!
Did she peek at the thing that Sholmes said not to peek at? You were attempting to abscond with that case file. Iris, as you know very well, nothing escapes the attention of a great detective. Oh no. We visited Scotland Yard's autopsy laboratory earlier today. Oh, wait, no. She stole it. And Dr. Gorey informed us that the autopsy report of Clint Van Zeeks had gone missing. Clint Van Zeeks. Yes, I do seem to recall. That some years ago I asked to see the report in question. You were with me, weren't you, Iris? You mean, it was you, Iris? So those papers you have there are... I'm sorry. Forgive me! I stole documents. Well, can we read them? In truth, I would like to have thought I could have predicted a booby trap chest. But it caught me completely off guard. I was very nearly the late consulting detective Sherlock Sholmes. I'm sorry, Hurley. So you mean this autopsy report really is? Yes, I took it from the lab, even though I knew it was very important. Was there something in it that troubled you, Iris? Not exactly something that troubled me. Something I'd been looking for. When I saw this report, when I saw the writing in it, I knew it was Daddy's. The writing? Your father's writing? What do you really mean? Iris? It must be something that's hard for her to talk about. Forgive me for interrupting, my dear fellows. Mr. Sholmes, what is it? Yeah. I feel as though the poor unconscious gentleman on the settee has been somewhat forgotten. Yeah, it's gonna be weird having this deep conversation with Nikotobas. Father! Perhaps we should find our guest somewhere more peaceful to rest. Mr. Naruhodo. Yes? Would you be so kind as to lend him your bed? We must do our very best to make him comfortable with you. Oh, yes, of course. I'll help you carry him up. So will I. No, I can manage alone, thank you. You have tea to enjoy. We wouldn't want Iris's brood to steal. Yoink. Because there's no better way to make the professor comfortable than dragging him upstairs like a trunk. I wonder. Perhaps that was deliberate. Maybe Mr. Sholmes is making himself scarce to give Iris a chance to talk more freely. We must use this opportunity to talk with Iris. And find out what's going on. Would you like to tell us about it, Iris? About your father? I'm sure I told you before, didn't I? That Daddy used to be Hurley's partner. Yes, and then notes about all the cases they solved together are kept inside a metal chest. That's right, Hurley told me, you see. So that means... No, she's British, so she can't be Mikotoba's daughter. So she probably is John H. Watson's daughter, but just that part about being the partner was a lie. He said that Daddy's somewhere far away now, so we can't meet. That's one way of describing it. Then, when I secretly unlocked the chest and read through the papers inside, I started to build up a picture in my head of what Daddy must be like. Well, that's only natural. You're just like any other girl of your age. I read that Daddy was a professor of medical science, so I studied and took my degree too. Well, that's only natural, I suppose. In that respect, you're not quite like any other girl of your age, though. Actually, the game hasn't established that yet. I jumped the gun. But it seems like it's very obviously the case, because why else would that character design be the same? But there was one thing that I could never find out. Daddy's name. His name wasn't anywhere on any of the notes that he made about his work with Hurley. But then one day, that's what happened, is it? When he saw this autopsy report, he finally managed to work it out. Is that right? Yes. So it was the handwriting in the report that caught her eye. When I saw the writing on the report, I could hardly believe it. I know that handwriting, I thought to myself, because it was the same as the writing you'd seen on your father's case notes. Exactly. I was desperate to compare the two properly. I needed to see them side by side. I asked the doctor in the laboratory, but I was told I couldn't take the report away. And even worse, I was told that it was the first and last time we'd be allowed to even to look at it there. So you decided to steal it. When I compared the autopsy report with the case notes I had here, there was no doubt. The handwriting was exactly the same. It was Daddy's. And the signature of the coroner at the bottom of the autopsy report read Dr. John H. Wilson. So that's how I finally found out. I learned Daddy's name at last. I see. Ever since then, I've called myself Iris Wilson. And that's also when I had the brilliant idea of writing stories all about Daddy's exciting times with Hurley. Oh, she's jumping to conclusions. She might not even be Watson's daughter. She might be someone else's daughter. She just assumed. Whose daughter then? I said it there and then. I write The Adventures of Sherlock Sholmes. Oh, Iris, I had no idea the stories had quite such a deep personal significance for you. I can see why the autopsy report was so important to her now. And why she was prepared to break the law to get her hands on it. Yeah, I wonder if her father is somewhat significant then. Oh, she is British. I don't think it's Holmes. I don't think she's Holmes' biological daughter. That would be weird. Definitely not Mikotoba because the ethnicity doesn't match up. Strongheart, maybe. Van Zeeks, maybe. Gregson? Gregson, maybe. Maybe Gregson. Well, I guess we'll find out in due time. I genuinely don't know. It could be a character we haven't met yet. I must apologize, Iris. This is really all my fault. Hurley? I made a promise, you see, that until the time was right, I'd keep the details about your father a secret. I know. I've been very naughty. Well, hang on. No, Holmes knows. Holmes knows the truth. She's an adopted child with no known parent. Right? We assumed, or at least the parental figure is missing. We assumed it was Watson, who disappeared, quote unquote, by going to Japan and then getting murdered. Now Holmes knows. Chat, I figured it out. I figured it out. It's Clint, isn't it? Because he's dead. So that makes sense that he's disappeared. Yeah, of all the named characters that we know of so far, and if we have to tie it to the Professor case, I think that's the only one that makes sense. It's probably Clint. I'll take the autopsy report back to Dr. Gory and apologize, I promise. Yes, we'll go together, I think. Then, let me look after it for you until we get there. Very juicy, very juicy. Hang on. Before we wrap the scene up. Very juicy, very juicy. Clint Van Zeeks, male, age 33, nationality British. Well, there you go. He is British. 31st May between 9 PM and midnight. Death from a single stab wound to the heart. Others supposed was indicative of a duel. Recent scarlet ink stains visible on the little and ring fingers of the right hand, but no document corresponding ink was found. Vital evidence recovered from the victim's stomach during autopsy. Credits to Inspector Gressler petitioning to doubly for the autopsy procedure. What does that mean? Yeah, but yeah, that's the only that would be the reason. That would definitely be a good reason to hide the truth from her. I must go and water my herbs, I think. I'll see you all later. Poor Iris. She must be feeling awful. I know Mrs. Sholmes is here for her, but still. Ah! Well, how? What's the meaning of this, Mr. Sholmes? Mr. Sholmes? Oh dear me. So, you've noticed, I see. Noticed what? I haven't seen anything that's immediately noticeable. Mission for the applicant and one additional person to travel. So I guess that was him and yeah. That's right. But that would mean, what on earth's the matter, Mr. Sato? You've turned as white as a sheet. It's this autopsy report, Mr. Naruhodo. The one from 10 years ago. The writing isn't Dr. Wilson's at all. Huh? What do you mean? How could you possibly know that? Because I know this writing very well. This writing. It's my father's! Oh no. But wait, no. He can't be... Okay, no. I don't know what to think now. Is he sus or not? I don't think he's sus. Sholmes trusts him. So he's probably not sus. I guess we could just ask him about it. What? Professor Mikotobas? Well, I mean, no, that doesn't mean that she's his daughter. Definitely not. Oh, wait, no. You know what that does confirm? That does confirm for us that Mikotoba is the one who wrote the case files and therefore is the Watson. Oh, that's what this big dramatic review is supposed to be. Got it. So the jump-in idea... That's what I got. Indeed, it's true. And now you know. My dear fellows. No, I don't know anything. What on earth does all of this mean, Mr. Sholmes? Because the idea that's slowly forming in my mind is just too extraordinary to believe. Please, you have to explain. So, this autopsy report was actually penned by Professor Mikotoba then? But that doesn't make no sense. It's not possible, surely. Not possible. My dear fellow, pray take a deep breath and think again. Yes, you're right. In some ways, it actually makes a great deal of sense. It does. 10 years ago is when Father returned to Japan after his extended study tour in Britain. And prior to his return, where was Dr. Mikotoba engaged? Ah, of course. He was an assistant in Dr. Wilson's laboratory, learning about forensic science. And as an assistant, he would have aided with the dissection work, making detailed notes, which would be assembled into the full autopsy report. Once the work was complete, the head coroner would check the contents and put his signature on the document. In other words, the only writing of Dr. Wilson's in the report would be his signature at the end. I see. So Iris got the wrong end of the stick, you mean? She saw that and assumed the whole report had been written by Dr. John H. Wilson. Which is very understandable, of course. What a complicated situation. Oops. But this means... Thinking about it, most of what we know about you, Mr. Sholmes, comes from the published stories of your exploits. Yes, The Adventures of Herlock Sholmes, written by Iris. And we really have no way of knowing what's fact, and what's fiction. Most troubling for you, my dear fellow, I'm sure. So what about this supposed partner of yours? Did he really exist or not? Ah, you've come straight to the point, I see. And please come straight to the answer. I believe Iris explained it in one of her installments. He was a trusted comrade, and the only person I could truly have called a friend. And did this partner of yours truly make a record of all your cases? Are his notes really stored inside that metal chest? Absolutely, my dear madame. Absolutely. So, where's your partner now? We rarely meet. You see, he lives on the other side of the world. But if this autopsy report and the records of all your old cases were penned by the same hand, and if the autopsy report was written, though not signed, by your famous partner, there would only be one logical conclusion. Pray, impress me. Your partner would have to be Yujin Mikotoba. In other words, Miss Susato's father. Upon my word, Miss Naruhodo. Yes? You are coming along wonderfully. You have hit upon the method at last. You finally grasped the art of deduction. You mean to say? Allow me to introduce you to my great friend and partner, Mikotoba. The Watson. Professor Mikotoba! So in universe, the Watson name got into the story is because of Iris's misconception. This whole time. Huh. Does this mean that you're the real Dr. Wilson? No, my dear, I'm still my old self. Yujin Mikotoba, your father. Oh, of course. This is obviously too much for Susato-san to take in. I must say, though, how my old friend has attained worldwide celebrity as a great mystery solver is the greatest mystery of all. I still remember the first time we met. Ah, pray remind me. When was it again, Mikotoba? 16 years ago, Sholmes. Ah, yes, quite. 16 years ago. I just arrived from Japan with Seishiro and Genshin. I was in search of lodgings close to the hospital, so some comfortable rooms at a reasonable price. But rents are devilishly high in that particular area. That's right, so I decided I needed someone to share lodgings and the expense. I was fortunate enough to be introduced to Sholmes, who found himself in a similar situation. I was a callow fellow back then, a mere shadow of the great detective you see before you now. I was working at the hospital's chemical laboratory at the time, indulging my curiosities for little gain. And the situation of our cohabitation led us to us pursuing cases together, you see. Hard to believe. It was a mere 6 years. We had a great many adventures. But in the last year of Mikotoba's stay in Britain, the most infamous of cases presented itself. A case of which you've become rather familiar yourselves. The Professor killings. The Hound of the Baskervilles. After the trial, Seishiro and I were summoned back home. Hardly surprising, given the circumstances. Oh! If she's Clint's daughter, then that's why Hound of the Baskervilles makes sense, because her father is the killer. Or, you know, is one of the victims. Whichever it is. We haven't figured that part out yet, but I'm pretty sure he's the killer. Based on everything that I've been thinking about. So there you have it. And as you know, all the details recorded by my trusty chronicler remain in that metal chest. This is just amazing. Professor Mikotoba really is Mr. Sholmes' famous partner. Father. Goodness, my dear. What a cutting look. As your daughter, I'm very proud to learn that you were the great detective's great partner. But nevertheless, there's another mystery that I really must ask you to explain now. And that is? You know very well what it is. The unresolved matter of Iris' father. Ah, of course. I've almost forgotten about that one. I should have seen this coming, I suppose. I mean, she's British, so it can't be him. Iris told us that all the notes about the great detective's adventures that are in that metal chest were written by her father. Isn't that correct, Mr. Sholmes? That is indeed what I told young Iris. But if you're Mr. Sholmes' partner, father, and you wrote all those case notes, then Iris' father must be you! Upon my word, Miss Susato. You are coming along wonderfully as well. You, too, have hit upon the method at last. You finally grasped the art of deduction. What? What you've always told me, father, is that my mother died when I was born 16 years ago, and you left me in grandmother's care whilst you embarked on your study tour of Britain. And I've always accepted that. But all this about Iris. Ooh, there it is, Susato-san's ice-cold stare. No, now hold on a minute. It was very complicated. I mean, it's really not what you think. And perhaps you'd like to explain exactly what it is. There it is. Now the eyes go ice-cold to red hot just before she... No, really, you've got the wrong end of the stick. Sholmes, say something, man. This is Sholmes messing with them. Yeah, 100%. That's quite enough, my fiery fellows. But, Mr. Sholmes, when did you get all dressed up? Whilst I don't like to interrupt this exciting exploration of the past, Mikotoba and I have an urgent matter that requires a short excursion. But it's very late, Mr. Sholmes. Where must you go? Why, my dear madame, is that not obvious? My partner and I must pursue our natural enemies. So, get your coat, Mikotoba. The game is afoot. He said the thing, chat! Come, Watson, the game is afoot! Ooh, banger, banger. This is very, yeah, this is the spirit of Sherlock Holmes. It's very well captured. But Sholmes, I really must give Susato a full explanation, I think. Later, my dear fellow, later. Our carriage awaits downstairs already. You haven't changed one iota, have you? I mean, really. I visited our home after 10 long years, and when I opened that chest in a fit of nostalgia, I quite inexplicably passed out. And as if that wasn't enough, when I eventually regained consciousness, I'm plunged straight into all of this. Father, please. Go with Mr. Sholmes now. What? I've no doubt that whatever happened, you were acting in everyone's best interests. I trust you. Completely. Mr. Sato. Please, don't get the wrong idea. I'm Japanese. Iris is British. It's setting the great detective and his great partner off on renewed adventures together. It's more than I could have hoped for in my wildest dreams. Very well then. We'll speak again later. So, I believe your own work is done for today. I wish you the best of luck for tomorrow. Yes, Naruhodo. Good luck in battle. And in reaching a decision. A decision about whether to go back to Japan, I suppose.
So much happened that day that I barely knew what to do with myself. It would only be later that I'd come to realize how amidst the chaos I'd unleashed were all the clues I needed to finally unearth the truth. And that all the turmoil was necessary to give me the resolve to see everything through.
Well, the hints are there, and I think I've picked up on quite a few. Obviously, don't confirm it for me, chat, but I think my theory holds up. I think it makes sense. I think it makes sense. Heart, and now we plunge into Heart Vortex. I guess. Yeah. Very interesting. Yeah, so to recap, my working theory right now, Clint was actually the professor. Working under orders of like the judiciary or Lord Strongheart or whatever. Those are the unanswered questions, but Clint was working as the professor. He was doing the extrajudiciary clearings. Genshin Asogi was involved in some way, maybe killed him in self-defense or killed him to stop him from killing someone else, something like that, and got framed because you know, the situation just looked really bad. Maybe they were smuggling him out because they knew he wasn't guilty. Yeah, maybe. Actually, yeah, that's another thing that makes it make more sense. Like, why would they? Because the people involved in here are also part of the Reaper conspiracy, right? Presumably, they're also behind whoever is, like, behind Clint and all the other nonsense. Why would they go out of their way to try and smuggle Genshin out? Because Genshin was supposed to live. He only died because the plan went awry at the last second. So, yeah, interesting. And also, Clint is almost certainly Iris's father. Yeah, the plan went awry because of Trevor, but like, why the plan in the first place? You would think that it would be in the conspiracy's best interest to just scapegoat Genshin and let him die. Right? So why did they bother to sneak him out? Because they knew he was actually innocent and they didn't want him dead, I guess? I don't know. Actually, no, that still doesn't make sense. It would have been easier to just scapegoat him and let him die. I don't know why they went to the trouble of trying to sneak him out like that. Well, there are still a number of unanswered questions, I guess, and even if my theory is proven right, which I think it is, it makes sense logically to me. There's still quite a few unanswered questions, which I guess we will find out when we get to the final case of the Great Ace Attorney. Stay tuned for that, chat! We'll be back soon. Have a good one.